I think health is directly related to the vital force we have, and so therefore also the time we have. And it's incredible that we have to dedicate a few hours of our days to health in order to be able to accomplish what we want. And if we don't engage with that level of self-care, then it's probably not going to work. And it does a lot for depression, for example. Changing the diet helps a lot with negative thought loops, and all targeted individuals have to deal with that. So it's really a matter of our well-being. And for me also, it's when I address that in my life really to a radical level that I finally also could start with some important projects for me. So I think it makes a really great deal of difference for us, and for how fast we are moving, and also the food program, because that when we are fasting, things, we don't procrastinate as much. We do the things we maybe were pushing in a corner, or sometimes it's only take 5 minutes. Many times these things that we kind of push forward, they only take a little while, and still we are lacking the energy. So I see it a lot linked to our vitality. For me, it started, I always changed my food habits since I left the house. Already when I was under my parents' roof, I already started to make some changes. And so it was like a 15-year-old journey. And but more recently, it's been 4 years ago, because I was dealing with high acidity and it manifested in the mouth. So I was scared for my teeth, and it kind of gave me the impulsion to face my food addiction. I think we all struggled with some layers of food addiction. So at that point, I found the mucus-free and the mucuslean teachings, and I applied them. And that's the first time that I really saw things getting out of my body. Like for example, with ear candling, when I was doing fruit juice fast, I had to do a lot of ear candling, and I was feeling it, building it in my head, and it had to go back, the easiest exit. And so ear candling was one of these tools where it was also very I was getting a lot of gratification from it, because you see, like, it's physical. You have this waste that is like dark orange, and then if you keep it, you see how much you kind of get out, and there is always more. So I find it fascinating how the body, the detox is layered also, and you can probably keep on detoxing all the time. And so after a while, it's also about finding your rhythm, and when it's a good time for you to push. I think you also get used to more lightness in how you in what you consume and how you interact with food. I've always been a fan of many manual practice, like I started to also receive massage again recently, like the drainage, or the Asian types of massages, where they know all these Chinese acupressure points. I also did like a bit of like postural reeducation, working also on the muscle near the neck. We have a lot of tension, doing a bit of fascia work, things that are good for us. And even there, I work with both spirited and non-spirited practitioner, and I know they are. In the past, I didn't know, I was going, I could feel maybe there was something more with this person than the other, but now I see it with my sense that some of them aren't, but it still does work, but maybe not to the degree where like a fire creation being can take you. I discovered that it was mainly genetic. So I would say I'm average. Like, there are way better genetics than mine, and they are way worse. So my main weakness is that lymphatic chronic congestion. And because it's that overlay, that yellow overlay on my blue eyes, which make them green. And it means that my lymph is not pumping. It means that I need to move a lot if I want to see any movement. It means that I can go on extreme fast and get like average to low results, while some individuals, they're gonna eat a plate of fruits and they're gonna have really a strong detox already happening. So it has its advantage and its disadvantage too. And I reflect also on, the health of my parents, and in this case also my mother, who was also struggling with lymphatic congestion. And so I learned a lot more about my genetics, my weakness. I got 2 iridology reports 3 years apart from each other. So my first one, it was like a discovery, and then I knew a little bit more about iridology, and now I also study iridology. So I think it's great to know your genetics. And and in the past I also had like a lot of symptoms that I didn't understand. When I was 26, or 27, I was losing hair, and it's scary when you have like a symptoms that you don't understand it, and you're not sure how to stop it. And I think that's how the system wants to keep us, like really feeling powerless about our health. While with this system and with this approach, I generally understand when there is something happening. So it's very empowering, and that's what I like about it. Then of course there was like the food that I was eating at my parents' house, and still also in my 20s, because I didn't know what ingredient does what, and because the body is so numb that it doesn't react. At first I discovered the physical damage. Of course, if you had like constipation, it's very physical, so it's going to impact your organ a certain way. And then something that changed my vision is to consider that I wake up traumatized, that every day we need to release additional invisible trauma. I see also a lot of my friends, they are really looking into the past and these specific events, but even the most traumatic events in their life doesn't explain the extent of the trauma that we are carrying. And there is much more with our nighttime activity. And sometimes you do all the right thing and you still wake up exhausted. So and also, a lot of us have like a tension in the neck. And, if you consider that we are being experimented on and we don't remember, fine fluid is probably used, even if you have no memory of it, your body still remembers. So it's a lot of work to, in the past I was going to manual practice and trying to heal, but my vision has changed, that now it's like part of the game here. If you want to stay sane and be the best version of yourself, and be less reactive with other, you have to take this time for self-care. And for me it was really difficult. Yeah, at the beginning I would only succeed to do my self-care practice like in the evening. And sometimes I wasn't managing, so it was like for the next day. But because of how it changed in my mind, acknowledging the invisible, now it's way easier to be, I guess, a little bit more gentle also with myself, and making that a priority. And it's true that all my life revolves around healing. I did a lot of the mind stuff, and then it was like my body was not following where I was going with my mind. So I had to slow down and take more care of the 3D aspect of the body. So when I find deep relaxation, in some practice, I noticed that it comes with feeling safe, and then it's really my body releasing. But of course, then it's gonna help to change my mind pattern. I realized that I have less square boxes in my own mind. It's like I have a little bit more space within my own mind to make other choice. And I see it, for example, in the details, right? In how I'm gonna make decision within a day and change things that maybe I wasn't able. Sometimes we find ourselves, we really feel like we need to do things in a certain order to arrive to Z, right? And then you can notice that some days you put like this thing in the middle of your day where you in the past you weren't able to do that because of all the programming and the wires, where if you have to do that, then you have to do that, and you have to do that. So that's also how I see that these manual practice really help. It goes hand in hand with the mind. Notice that, you know, it also helps to create a stronger detox, because after shiatsu I will release some lymphatic clouds, you know, with the urine, and only when I really release something it's going to manifest in such a way. But it's very encouraging to see that. I think it's a key also for detox. It's to feel safe and to work on relaxation, because our body, our nervous system are so switched on. You know, if you're always on guard, it's not, and it's really hard also in this reality to really learn to relax. But I find it makes such a great difference for me, and I never knew how to relax in the past. Even in the bath, my mind would still be really active, and it was, yeah, it's really interesting how it works. I have like 2 cloud busters that I bought, I think, last year, and yeah, I have one like in my office, and then they are not even outside of the house for now. I have a little bit of orgonites too, but I've got a few pieces of organs and crystals, and you know, I try to stay away from Bluetooth. I still have like one Bluetooth tool that I sometimes use in my car, which is the worst thing that you can use, Bluetooth. But I've been trying different things to go back to something cable, but so far it hasn't been as effective as that option. So I'm still unplugging that last thing. But in the house, I went back to, you know, cable speaker, cable mouse, cable internet. So for different devices, which, you know, it is the things that are heavy to change, because you have to contact maybe, you know, the company and get someone coming to your house. And but I think in your general well-being, you feel better. You know, it's hard to know, because, you know, sometimes it's going to manifest by you're going to have less pain. But how would you know that you have less pain? Because you know we tend to acknowledge pain when we feel it the most. So that's also what I feel with like an alkaline diet, is like less muscular pain, you know, especially the shoulder, the neck, and all of that, you know. So that it's not as easy to go back to these round, natural built, you know, buildings, because the mind is so programmed also to these square things that like so it's not as easy as it seems to also return to these things. I also do with what I have, you know, like I built with what I have. It's sure that if you start a project from scratch, then I think it's something very important to take in consideration, and take the time to go back. If you already have like a project going on, it's way more difficult to, you know, because you have all these things from the past. But it's sure that it has an effect on your mind and how you think. That's not an accident that they put all these square thing, you know. It's like the mind control system is also very much based on these cube-like structure. I even find difficult to take the time to go and experience in one of these like cabin in the woods, or you know, it's even hard to take some time off. But I do make some efforts, right? If, for example, in the garden, you know, I have built more like round type structures. I did put some rain collecting, you know, like structures to collect the rain. So I do what I can, you know. I look at the project, and then I look for the next step, you know. Then, you know, probably installing some solar panel, even if it's never a system that I really, it's not where my mind is the best at understanding things. So it's just a matter of becoming more autonomous, I guess. And, you know, it goes hand in hand with the spiritual work that we are doing. Being less in acidity and less in density, you know, the density of the mucus forming food, and the density, the heaviness of really complex things to digest, you know, like the complex sugar or the protein or things like that. It helps to be more aware of what enter my field and what, you know, what leaves my field, or how also my perception, you know, and I think it also comes with also believing more and acknowledging, you know, because a lot is done, so we only believe in the 3D aspects of this reality, and we don't engage with the magic, like everything is done. So to encourage all the fire creation beings to stay in these really 3D aspects of life, like jobs, you know, like insurance, or, you know, real estate or things like that. I really like essential oils. You know, I have some in my house, you know, just smelling eucalyptus or working with them, you know, mint when you have like a headaches. I would say, you know, going more towards the organic fruits and vegetables, you cannot go wrong. Going more raw, cutting dairy, you know, gluten or sugars, you know, refined sugars. Also, coffee is a pretty intense addiction, and when you see how spider work under coffee making their web and how they do when they are not under coffee, it makes a whole difference. So it does influence our choices. We're going to be much more reactive, impulsive. So that's another one. Staying away from nutritional yeast maybe, and soy is not really so good, you know. Aluminium, you know, not using aluminium sheets or things like this. Also, not drinking tap water is an important step, you know, and you can go by step after step, but that's definitely one of the most important one. And if people can also sweating, whether it's in a hot bath or a sauna or running, because the skin is the third kidney, and usually people don't have their kidney filtering. So that way, you know, you can detox some of the toxicity inside of you, staying away from some things like synthetic vitamin C, maybe going for fruit powder or things like that, not always believing all these health advice that are not always for in our best interest, because there is a lot of hijacking. I really do love sound. I love music. I think music can really transport you. You know, it can help you access your emotions. It can make you journey really much. I did work with a fire creation beings who was working with sound. He was really talented with it. Unfortunately, there was some shadow aspect in the relationship and in the engineering of how we met and how we were interacting that I had to stop. And recently I've been talking with friends who are music artists, or, you know, I do have like a SoundCloud where I, you know, put my favorite music, you know, putting music when driving, you know. Of course, some of these sounds are still some of the harmful frequencies, but I would say is the overall intent, you know, and you know, it's never probably perfect, but there are some artists that I really like. They help me process with the music they are doing, but it's never the mainstream. And I do, you know, I have felt the need to also declutter from a lot of these Illuminati personalities and with the frequencies they were bringing to my field. They have been promoted by the algorithm, so I'm thinking there probably something fishy there. Still, you know, I go to my iPod and to review my tracks, but I wouldn't say that I've done like I go repetitively and I come back to it, but it's never perfect. I did in the past, and some probably I still have one or two in my playlist, but these music on YouTube where you get like millions of views, like I started to get more to have like some weird experience, like at festival, or where the collective mind would be stretched by, you know, consumption of drugs and mind altering substances. And there I lived some things that were really weird. Like, for example, I would like receive information in my mind about another person, and at the time I knew it wasn't, you know, mine, but I didn't also know, like it was a little bit invasive, like it was not like fully welcome, but there was like also an imposition. So it was interesting. And then later I kind of feedback with myself, like what was going on. I also had some strange episodes where I had like no will, like you know, it's linked to mind control and also being fragmented, and having your alters being accessed. and it was very interesting. I did write about that on my website. It's one of my, it's one of my most personal articles also, but it's very interesting because I think if we pay attention, we can all find that in our past, and all this, sometimes it's only when you're extracted from a situation that you can really feedback with yourself how you would have react, where your boundaries begin, and all of that. I had some experiences with clear olfaction, smell like sulfur, for example. It was kind of a warning, like this person is maybe dangerous for me. I had sometimes I see more and more, but I mainly sense with my body. It's like my body will tell me. I do receive some information, but it's not even fully visual. It's more like an impression, and then it's like my body translated in some image very quickly for me to understand. So that I never learned anywhere, even when they tell you about clear abilities, or you find some new age teachers online, they're not going to go in so much depth about, all of what it is. And I think that's also kind of what remote viewing is. You have to know your strongest channels of abilities, and then you can tune to remote information with that. With clairsentience, you can also tap to the frequency signatures of everything. And, for example, controlled operation, they will have like a specific signature to them, and then when you have pierced through one, then you can be better at recognizing others that are going on. And now, I get much more original, unique insights coming to my mind. That it also goes like not having all the time this constant output also from the exterior, because for the last weeks I've been also very focused on tuning back to old recordings of mine, or therapy sessions. So it helps me with my new me to tune back to this old version. And that we've been really, we are these talented beings, and then we are being put in these human bodies that are really thought to be really reduced. Like when we do like focus on our project and we do something, it's really incredible, because here we cannot really wait for this like outstanding magical thing. Like it's magical in the detail, and you might cross paths with really high frequency being also encapsulated in the body of another, of a human, and you're gonna know it in the quality maybe of the interaction, or like the sometimes it's not even what is being said, but how good you feel with them, or how friendly or warm it feels. And that's part of like the magic here, opening my mind to new possibilities, to new horizons. And then the supernatural kind of become your new normal. You're getting used to these glitches in your reality, or these, sometimes it's also the harassing, and you kind of learn to stay neutral about it, or but sometimes it's really interesting how the mind sometimes doesn't open to possibility. And I think when you do, then new things are happening. That's how we have to kind of relearn our abilities. And first we have to believe that they are there, and they are nowhere like they are described in the books. That's what it's different. That's why many people are psychic and they don't know they are psychic, and they don't know they have these abilities either, while they are these magical beings, and sometimes stuck in a life that is really engineered, with all these forces around them repressing them. Just it's there to annihilate the magic and make sure we stay with the 3D, right? I do think we would make other choices if we were in connection with that knowledge of being eternal, and not fearing, because any fear-based decision then is gonna really influence how we behave. It's the same for abuse. You have to first believe that you are worthy of something better to make the first step out of all these engineered situations around us that are really there to cause suffering and then feed from your pain, feed from all these low frequency thing. And it's only the last recent year that I have anchored the knowing that we are more like fire creation beings, are eternal, right? And I have established connection also with people who have taken another form maybe in this realm. And it's not only something, because probably, I've been reading about it in my 20s, a lot of these books, like Life Between Life and all these things, a lot of it is new age. But to have like this knowing, it really helps, and it's very healing. And when I connect to that, then there is way less sadness with the separation aspects of here and other dimensions. And yeah, I noticed that I would sometimes be the one, if I rise in frequency, sometimes I'm the one to kind of limit myself not to go past a certain point. And I will do this very precise activity in my day that is low frequency, or to kind of counterbalance. And yeah, sometimes it's very interesting how it's also the programming is there in your own mind to kind of make it slower. Like in my mid-20s, I was studying humanist psychology in Belgium in a kind of development center. I've been opening my eyes that, okay, this was led by backdrop. There was like a gray overlay over everything. I was basically handled by backdrops, didn't need more. It was very mental. I was reading material, but it was kind of limiting. And I met like maybe one other reals that became a friend. We know each other for right now 12 years or more. But it's very interesting how that healing center was working. It was I feel like they don't even, like, they only exist to entrap the mind of real original being. And it feels like when it doesn't even feel like they exist. Like if I think about them right now, I can only imagine a sim life for them and no essence to it. And then in 2019, I went to Thailand, and there was like this healing center in Koh Phangan. And it's very interesting because there it was much more supernatural and alien type activity. And the staff was really weird. They look really weird. They really looked very strange, like. And some people teachings also were like empty vessel, so they were like open for other force to kind of come through them. And I had a lot of problems just eating there. I consumed food that was prepared by the kitchen staff, and there was like a lot of mind control involved, a lot of aggression in that center. People who were staying there or attending retreats there were often sent to talk to me, to distract me, but sometimes in a very pushy way. Sometimes it was really, really aggressive, that at the moment of experiencing, I wasn't fully understanding what was happening. But then when I extracted kind of feedback also with myself, all that was happening, I was really feeling pushed in my consciousness to link up with forces that I wasn't choosing consciously. It was very interesting and strange. And so I think we need to be careful to choose which forces we're working with. If it feels, healing it feels good. Love, it feels good also. Sometimes we all have this inverted belief that love is pain, and when that core belief is getting activated, then maybe it's a time for reconsidering things. You have to defend a project. It's a little bit like the same for all these like eco villages or community project. It's kind of the same trap for the mind. And I also visited some, in Scotland, in Finhorn, and then in Brazil I visited another one. It was, every time it was different. The programming is different, but how dark forces kind of entrap the minds into this hive mind, and then it's all control. It's gonna be new age led, you know, so they're gonna use all these new age principle to kind of instigate a little bit of a dictatorship, or the frequency doesn't lie. You know what it pretends, and then how you feel when you're there, it's very different. And there are many imposters that pretend to be healer and that in fact are harvesting your energy, or that are putting things into your field, and then it's gonna influence you, it's gonna make you more open to more engineering, so it's very incredible. Some people even, healers, they're gonna vampirize your energy. You might receive some bits of healing. It really depends on their ability. But if you have beings who are too overtaken by negative types of AI, or who are possessed at the moment, so it's really every time you have to study each personal case, because it's going to be different. But also forums online also have their problem with how they are handled, what's allowed, what do they trigger, do they encourage guilt and shame programming, or do they really help you remember? Because when you remember, you also heal your self-esteem. I also think that I consulted like an hypnotherapist woman at the end of my 20s, and I could see that she had some addiction. Like she was drinking alcohol, like she was a bit social, and I could see she was people pleasing, and she was not spirited herself, but she was used to kind of keep me in my programming. And also I have an amnesia to something that happened with her, so that's showing that it was not really benevolent for me. When you have amnesia, it's not a good sign. It's kind of robbing you from your own power. And if I look at her life, I could see, if we look closer, we all have things that we are working on and can be better. But yeah, are these people looking to be higher frequency? Are they working, are they also open? Because ideally you want like a reciprocal relationship where you also can share of yourself, but usually that's not what you're gonna find. Yeah, for me, there are the steps. At the time in my 20s, I did read Eckhart Tolle, one or two books, but it's later on also that I refine my discernment also. And now anyone that you would see on Oprah, Eckhart Tolle is really not someone that I like. He also looked weird, he looked like he looked very alien type also in his own being. And when I connect to his energy, it's not something that I want to embody. It's very flat. There is no spark, there is no joy. It's even in the name. You don't have to look further. The name Guru is already in the name. It's webs and spells in what people see in them. And I know it. I didn't fall for these ones, but I fell for other operations, and also in the detox field, you have these basically narcissistic individuals who are collaborating, making dark associations, and then they are privileged by the algorithm, or they are there to handle how you spend your time, and your learning is going to be limited. And they also cord your energy. Some of them, they might do it with their eyes, and then then in the astral realm, you might be more harvested, even sometimes sexually, due to the forces that they are collaborating with. So, and it's also like, as long as you are in adoration, you're not exploring within your own self. You're looking to the exterior. You're seeing something that isn't there into the other person, and there are not so many genuine being. And I've been finding a lot of answers to kind of review my own life, and who stood out, who was kind, with whom there was something more, like something real. And it doesn't matter what we were talking about, but if the quality of the moment, and I find, that these are the beings that I want to build with. And most of the time these are not the beings that you see online with a lot of followers. And actually, if you're real, you're targeted, and there are lots of forces acting for your repression. So if you have quality to your life, I think I do focus on that, and I try to make it grow. And I see that I have on my plate, that I have enough to work. I've always too much still. So it's in this direction that I think I'm going. I think they are mainly used as distraction from what's really important. And what's really important is for the reals to wake up to the fact that they are original being, that they have abilities, that their life are engineers. You're gonna live your life in such a different way when you're aware of that. And many original beings are not aware. They are fully buying to many layers of the 3D. And this is why these teachers are there, because they're kind of creating this sedation effect that, okay, you've got some spiritual answer, but not too far. And it doesn't go beyond. It doesn't address mind control. It doesn't address programming. It just gives you some spiritual, they are interesting, but they are not enough. They're not gonna engage real deprogramming, right? And I think that's what we need to address. They're not gonna address why our self-esteem has been broken, why it needs repair, the frequency of guilt and shame programming, and how it's all engineered, and not believing into this program, and going beyond the fear to show up for certain thing in your life. And then you kind of deactivate the intense triggering that it does to your own body, right? Because the system is built in such a way that we don't see that we are this really high frequency being. We think we are so less, and it's so it's so well done. So you kind of need to a lot of reals need to really acknowledge that they are wonderful. So these teachers are also there for this exterior truths to come, and also the hierarchy that you find, especially with someone like Sadhguru, right? It's like this typical, or Muji, this typical satsang where the guru speaks, or you have this hierarchy, and real healing is not really possible with that hierarchy going on. And it's also fake in the signature, right? In the signature, who are they when the camera is off? Are they good beings? Are they making, most of the time they are really narcissistic or overtaken. Do these people emanate light? Do they embody joy or the higher frequencies? And do you feel inspired? Do you feel inspired to change your life? Do you have ideas? And that's why else is fascinating, because you can change your everyday detail, like with olfaction, with smells, with things that you do for yourself, and it's gonna make a big difference. I learned that all fire creation beings have heavy layers of sex kitten programming to manage. Of course, it's going to be different for a male and a female. The programming is a bit different, but there are similarities. And so, that's also why all these video clips and stuff are there. It's also to kind of keep the programming active, or make you active in your alters that are programmed to that frequency. So I had to navigate quite a bit of difficulties in that area in my 20s. Now I made different choices where I don't engage much with that energy. I protect it, and I feel when there is intrusion, and I don't put myself in too open situation where I'm going to be accessed, because when they access your altars, sometimes you're left to be an object for the pleasure of other, maybe. So experienced happened to me in my 20s that were really weird, where I got access to probably way further than what I was consciously willing to give. But I didn't feel like I've been like extremely wounded for that, because these stories were never fully me. But I see how this sexual energy is always they always try to access it in some ways, or also through dream time, um, or astral time, these low astral realms. Sometimes you have like a lot of these like entities trying to harvest sexual energy, even on online forum. And because of the personality of the leader, for example, or things like that. So it's, or if you bound with like a guru, it's also your sexual energy that is harvested. There are many interested in the energy of the real. So they made all these, they have all this mind control going on. So the backdrop are also, the non-spirited beings are programmed with these layers, but what they target is really the real spark. The backdrops are gonna do these choices, but they're not gonna pay the consequence because they are not real, right? But we do pay the price, because it's the general culture, and we go along with the programming, and then we are harvested, and that's how we're depleted. And I've been discussing that with also friends, who have come to the same kind of conclusion, that it was important to protect that energy and make different choices, going really counter the general culture. And we also find all these tantra workshops, and there is a lot of abuse and sexual re-traumatizing happening there, a lot of accessing, and again there most are backdrops, and then once in a while you have the occasional real who is stuck with all this simulation going around, thinking it's real, and so we are interacting as if it was real. So